decided life would be more fun if he had a pet. So he went to the pet store, and he told the owner that he wanted to buy an unusual pet. After some discussion, he finally bought a talking centipede. You know, one of those 100-leg bugs, which came in a little white box to use for his house. He took the box back home, found a good spot for the box, and decided he would start off by taking his new pet to church with him. So he asked the centipede in the box, "Would you like to go to church with me today? We'll have a good time." But there was no answer from his new pet. This bothered him a little bit, but he waited a few minutes and asked again, "How about going to church with me and receiving some blessings?" But again, no answer from his new friend and his pet. So he waited a few minutes more, thinking about the situation. The guy decided to invite the centipede one last time. This time he put his face up against the centipede's house and shouted, "Hey, in there, would you like to go to church with me and learn about God?" This time a little voice came out of the box. "I heard you the first time. I'm putting on my shoes." A 100 shoes, that's quite a bit. Just shows the importance of numbers. Numbers have a spiritual design. We know a little bit about that. We've heard it and studied it somewhat over the years. There's a quote from Isaiah. "Who hath measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and metered out heaven with a span, and comprehended the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in a scale, and the hills in a balance?" Isaiah is considering weights, measurements, counts, and numbers. There's a psalm that goes, the works of the Lord are great, sought out by all them that have pleasure in them. Do you have pleasure in the works of the Lord? Do you even take time to think about the works of the Lord? Do you ever really get a chance to recreation? There can be neither works nor words without numbers. As for God, his way is perfect. Psalms 18:30. His way is perfect. How often do you think about his way? I'm so busy doing my way and trying to figure out what my way is. But God's way is perfect, and the law of the Lord is perfect. They are both perfect in power, perfect in holiness, righteousness, design, execution, in their object and its end, and even perfect in their numbers. All of his works and all of his words were spoken and written in the right way, at the right time, in the right order, and in the right number. We think, God, you don't hear me. But he knows your thoughts before you speak them. And if you really study the Word for its story value, for its history value, for its whatever value, you'll find that it's written in the right way, it's in the right timing. Even though a nation could be captive for 400 years in slavery, it still says in the fullness of time. In the right order and in the right number. Psalm 147 says, He telleth the number of the stars. The farther we try to look into the depth of the cosmos, the more we find there's no end. Have you really even pondered that? Just how big? You know, I have to chuckle sometime about the environmental activists. They're blaming everything on man. You know, get rid of your cars. They're killing the environment. Giving absolutely no thought to the fact of how fast this ball we're on is traveling through space. How far away it gets from the sun and from the moon and from the other planetary influences. How much influence everything else has, and what little influence we have. He telleth the number of the stars. He bringeth out their host by numbers. The psalmist David wrote, I meditate on thy works. I muse on the works of thy hands. You know what the word muse means? It means to talk to yourself. When was the last time you gave yourself a good talking to? I mean, sat yourself down and just read yourself the riot act, right? I muse on the work of thy hands. So David must have spent some time watching his father's sheep and talking to himself about God, about the wonder of all creation. When we see numbers used, not by chance but by design, with significance, we see not merely so many works and words, but the actual living God working and speaking. Do you know how many numbers there are and references to numbers there are in scriptures? The first number we come across In the beginning, God, well, that's number one. Number one means unity, but it means there is no other. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Interesting that he would create first the heavens. The 12 signs of the zodiac. Actually, there's many more constellations than that. But there is that beltway, that track that the sun travels in, and the moon, and apparently the stars stay within this boundary of space all around us. But each of the 12 signs of the zodiac, each of them have 3 constellations of their own, making 36 other constellations, or 48 in total. The main 12 speak of the character of his creation. There must be a reason why he chose 12. Why the number 12 should purvey in the heavens. Why not 11? Why not 13 or 7 or 20? Because 12 is one of the 4 perfect numbers. And it speaks of the governmental perfection. The first thing God did was he established governmental order. And he put the sun and the moon and the stars in that belt to accentuate time to time different parts and portions of that government. The 12 signs of the zodiac, as we portrayed up here months ago, have 12 different character and personality types. But in order to make a perfect government, God needed all of those, because they're all different. We're all uniquely different, all with the same purpose. 12 is a perfect number. Governmental perfection. Hence, it is associated with rule. Rule. Order. It has to do with the rule of the heavens. For the sun is given to rule the day, and the moon is given to govern the night. We have one common measure or factor which is seen in the 12 signs of the zodiac. That is the number 12. The 36 accompanying constellations, which all spell out together, bring his story. It's the Bible written in the heavens. So that the Bible is what the heavens pictured. There's 36 constellations, that's 3 times 12. The total number of constellations is 48, so that's 4 times 12. And they travel in 360 degrees That's 12 times 30. 12, 12, 12, 12. degrees into which the great circle of the heavens is divided. No one can tell us why the number of degrees was first fixed at 360. But it is. You can't fit another one in, and you can't take one away. It has come down to us from ancient time and is used universally without question. And it is this division of the zodiac which gives us the 12 months of the year. The sun travels roughly 30 days in one of the signs. Hence we have our month, 12 signs. The sun travels for a year around. Twelve is that perfect number, speaking of perfection of government. It's found as a multiple in all that has to do with rule. The sun which rules the day and the stars which govern the night do so by their passage through the 12 signs of the zodiac, which completes the great circle of heaven, 360 degrees, and thus governs the year. There's a psalm, Psalm 19 speaks about the sun. He's like a bridegroom coming forth out of his chamber. The sun. He's like a bridegroom. Now here's somebody that's very special. He's got promise. He must be a strong individual in his youth, in his prime. He's going to get married. And he comes forth not beaten down and in ridicule, but as a man ready to go on to proceed to make his house Ben Israel, to build his future, build his family. There's a positive expression of the sun going forth from his chamber. 12 is the product of 3 and 4. Where 7 is composed of 3 added to 4, 12 is 3 multiplied by 4. So 3 is divine perfection. Father, Son, Spirit, past, present, future. Body, soul, spirit. 3 is divine perfection in a heavenly number. And 4 speaks of the earthly number of what is material and organic. While 7 is composed of 3 added to 4, 12 is 3 multiplied by 4. And hence denotes that which can scarcely be explained in words. Adding 3 and 4 together is easy enough. That's basic first grade arithmetic. But multiplication comes later on because it's more involved. And when you multiply divine perfection and governmental perfection, the intensity of what is produced is beyond one's true comprehension It's not explained in words, but it's which the spiritual perception can at once appreciate. It's called organization. The product denoting production and multiplication, an increase of all that is contained in the two numbers. Multiplication is the increase of all that is in the two numbers. Lovely Vittoria is a product of Chris and Amy. It is a product, she is a product of everything that's in Amy and everything that's in Chris. Not just some young lady, but some very complex, divine, and purposeful being. With every bit, you have poured everything you are into those kids. That's the product. There were 12 patriarchs, from Seth to Noah and his family, and 12 from Shem to Jacob. There were 12 tribes of Israel. Though actually 13 in number, there are never more than 12 named in any one list. And there are about 18 different enumerations altogether, but in each list, one or more is omitted. Generally, it's Levi, but not always. In Revelation, both Dan and Ephraim are omitted. But the enumeration is still 12. Levi and Joseph being introduced for the special sealing of the remnant, which shall go unscathed through the great tribulation. Then there were 12 judges or saviors. The Temple of Solomon has the number of 12 as one of its great factors, in contrast to the Tabernacle of Moses, which has the number of 5. This agrees with the grace which shines in the tabernacle. The tabernacle that God had Moses erect in the wilderness was a picture, a heavenly picture, of the man Jesus in the middle of his body. Israel was this 12-mile encampment of all of the tribes all around. The zodiac, government, divine government, government of perfection. And in the midst was the heart, just like your heart is in the middle of your body. And in the midst of that tabernacle were the 3 dimensions: outer court, inner court, holy of holies. Again, a picture of the heart of God in type and shadow. It had this linen fence all around it, high enough that you couldn't look in or couldn't see, denoting the fact that what goes on inside your heart is only between you and God. Nobody else can see what's going on in there. So the tabernacle has the number 5 on it because it speaks of the grace of God. This is what I'm going to do with you, says the Lord. But the temple, now that's the glory of God. That's the number 12. There were 12 apostles, divine government. 12 foundations in the heavenly Jerusalem. 12 gates to the city. 12 pearls and 12 angels. The measurements of the New Jerusalem will be 12,000 furlongs square, while the wall will be 144 cubits, 12 times 12. The number of the sealed in Revelation 7 will be 144,000. And all that has to do with the 12 tribes is necessarily purveyed by this number, such as the stones in the high priest's breastplate, the stones taken out of the Jordan, the number of spies sent into the land. Government, order, government, order, government, order. There were 12 anointings that had special record. 5 priests, Aaron and his sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, Ithamar, and 7 kings, Saul, David, Absalom, Solomon, Jehu, Joash, and Jehoahaz. It would be observed that from this list of the kings, king number 6 was Saul and 7 was David. Saul was the man of man's choice. You remember the story? Give us a king. So he happened to be the 6th king. But David was the king of God's choice. So he was the 7th king, spiritual perfection. At 12 years of age, Jesus is first recorded in his appearance in public, and he utters his first recorded words. I must be about my Father's business. So that's it. That's all that I have. I've come to tell you that there is divine perfection and order in the heavens, that it was brought down to the earth in the tribes of Israel and in the tabernacle and in the encampment. It was furthered by all of the families of Jacob and portrayed, and it's carried on still in you. Through time and man's ability to screw things up, we've lost the concept. But you are members of a divine order. Called to rule. Someday, I hope, I will be able to pen all the thoughts that I have from the heavens down through the line, so that you can look in the mirror and say, that's who I am. I'm done. Nick would like to see you in the back. Amen.